I hope you're having an amazing day. My name is Otto and welcome back to yet another honest video. If you're someone who has the GoPro 11 and you're wondering if you should upgrade to the new GoPro 12, I can tell you that there has been some quality of life improvements, but nothing that I would consider to be significant enough to justify getting the new version. Maybe just one thing, but I'll get into that in a few minutes. The action camera market has been shaken with some heavy competition by DJI with the Action 4 and Insta360 with the Go 3, and that could be one of the reasons why the price on the GoPro 12 went down to $400 when normally they would sell for $500. They are not going to give you this carrying case anymore, and it seems that to reduce costs, they also removed the GPS from the camera. I know that a lot of people are not happy about this, and if this is important for you, the GoPro 11 now sells for $350 and it does have GPS. The GoPro 12 remains waterproof down to 10 meters and the camera sensor and CPU are the same from the GoPro 11. It has a maximum resolution of 5.3K at 60 frames per second, and you can set the camera to shoot with a high bitrate and also select 10-bit color for your videos. And I have to say that it's really easy to tell that the video quality is excellent. But it is important to mention that 10-bit color will not work at 1080p or 2.7K. At 4K, you can also get high quality videos with a maximum frame rate of 120 frames per second. And at 2.7K, you can go up to 240 frames per second if you're looking for super slow motion. The GoPro 12 now has HDR, and this is probably one of the new features that I like the most because it actually seems to be doing a great job. This video here was shot using standard mode, and here you can see the difference when I use HDR. Shadows have more details with maybe a bit of noise, but it's not so easy to spot, and looking at the sky, you should also notice a big difference. HDR videos are also limited and can only be used at 5.3K up to 30 frames per second or 4K up to 60 frames per second. GoPro continues to offer the 8:7 aspect ratio, which uses the entire sensor to capture your videos, and this option is useful because it will let you reframe later in post to horizontal or vertical. The downside is that you can only select 24 or 30 frames per second, and a wide field of view is going to be the only option. And for this camera, it means that you can use horizon lock and there is going to be some distortion as well. This problem can also be found using other aspect ratios. The wider the field of view, the stronger that distortion is going to be. You can zoom with this camera 1.4 times in 2.7K and higher and 2 times in 1080p. But I think that this would be a bit more useful if we could zoom in and out while recording. For beginners, you can select this option for easy controls, and it now has this new shortcut where you can quickly change the framing to horizontal to vertical, or you can select to use the entire sensor to give you the full 8:7 aspect ratio. I don't like that this shortcut or the one where you select the frame rate are not an option if you select the controls to Pro. So instead of having a shortcut, you now have to go inside the menus. And now that I mentioned that, GoPro did some changes to the interface. Menus are a bit different, and for the most part, I think that they are easier to use, especially when you're going to select the color profile, the resolution, the frame rate, and the field of view. It feels cleaner in my opinion, but there are some settings that you can customize if you want to have them on different presets. For example, the bitrate and the bit depth, because now these are settings that applies to the entire system. The back screen feels responsive to the touch most of the time, but sometimes it feels like I need to tap a few times to change something. The color front-facing display is extremely useful for selfie mode or vlogging, but this is still not touch-enabled, so if you need to change any setting at all, you will have to turn the camera around to do it. It just blows my mind that the Action 4 has one, and even Insta360 figured how to do something similar. So can somebody please explain to me why is GoPro not paying attention to the competition? Moving on, the design of the GoPro 12 is almost the same as the GoPro 11. They forgot to add some red color on the record button, and instead there are some tiny blue dots almost everywhere. I'm not a designer, but I don't think that this looks good. But the good news is that the same batteries from the latest GoPros can be used on the GoPro 12. And this also applies to ND filters like these ones that I have from the brand Freewell. The mounting system remains the same with the flip down fingers at the bottom, but now, for the first time, this has a 1/4-inch thread hole at the bottom. So you can mount the GoPro directly on a tripod or extension rod, and this will save you some time and a few headaches. The GoPro 12 has an electronic stabilization system called HyperSmooth. It used to have different levels of intensity, but now it has a straightforward approach, so it's either going to be on or off, and now there is also an automatic setting. This works really well in almost any situation, but they've always had this problem when there isn't enough light. Your videos are going to have this tiny vibration glitch effect, which feels quite heavy sometimes. And the only way that I found to minimize this problem is by not moving the camera or using a gimbal. The camera also has horizon lock, which is going to keep your video horizon straight even if you're tilting the camera to the left or the right. But this has yet another limitation. It only works when you set the field of view to linear. This means that if you want to use a wider field of view, it's not going to work. This camera is being advertised by GoPro to have a longer battery life compared to the GoPro 11. So I ran a test side by side at 4K, and there wasn't a big difference. They both gave me about 90 minutes of record time, and at 1080p, the GoPro 12 was able to retain a bit more of power. The GoPro 11 finally shut down at 2 hours and 20 minutes, while the GoPro 12 still had 10% of battery remaining, but that only gave me 10 additional minutes. Anyway, the batteries are replaceable and they have a price of about $20, so you can carry as many as you want. I also wanted to know if the GoPro 12 would overheat using the same or similar conditions that I've been using lately for these kind of cameras, where there is no movement, no airflow, no air conditioning. And using 4K at 24 frames per second, the GoPro 12 overheated at 60 minutes. This is interesting because I had the GoPro 11 next to the 12 and it did not overheat at any point. Actually, the GoPro 11 never had this problem using 4K at 24 frames per second. I thought that maybe using less demanding settings would avoid that, so I used 8-bit color and a low bitrate. And just about when the battery was about to die, the GoPro 12 overheated at 1 hour and a half. And once again, using the same settings, the GoPro 11 had no issues. And using 4K at 60 frames per second, I was able to record for a maximum of 30 minutes. Please bear in mind that using a GoPro outdoors with some movement and airflow will most likely increase the recording time before it overheats. Anyway, let's take a look at the internal microphone. Okay, so this is a microphone test using the GoPro 12, and this is how it sounds inside my studio. If you want to use an external microphone, you need to buy either the GoPro Media Mod, which retails for about $80, or buy a USB-C microphone adapter. Let's talk about your thoughts about this camera in the comments down below. I will soon have more videos with the GoPro 12, but for now, I hope you're having an amazing day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.